Hello, guys. When I Grow Up by Barbara Birch. This is a new Stellar text, and it's a great, great, great read. I really enjoyed it, and I believe you will too, as well. Lots to learn from the writer here and to enjoy as a reader. We've talked about it before. We can easily make predictions about books if you turn over to the, back of the cover, or rather the dust cover of the book, where you will see something you call the synopsis or the blurb, right? And the synopsis or the blurb of the book will give you kind of like a quick summary without spoilers about what is going to happen in the book. So you can decide then whether or not to buy it or read it. However, your stellar texts do not have synopsis, does not have a synopsis or a blurb. So how then do we make predictions? How then do we know what it's about? Well, one way is to look at the visuals. We've talked about this before. And so it's as good a time as any to actually use our acronym WICK to help us kind of make predictions about what we see. Look at the words, look at the images, look at the colors, and of course connect it to your own personal knowledge. This will make your learning even richer. Okay, WICK. So let's go through the title page, and I'll go through the first visual, and we'll pause the video for you to do the rest, and I will confirm some of your predictions, or rather when we finally read the book we can confirm those predictions. Okay, but I'll point out some of the things perhaps that you might not have seen before. First of all, the title always tells us a lot. It always does tell us a lot. I love the, let's start with words. Okay, words. Obviously the words are the title and it's telling us about the time when I will grow up, right? When I grow up. It hasn't happened yet. It's not grew up, it is grow up. So this is still present tense. It hasn't quite happened. It will happen. So we can assume that whoever's in this story, the character, is going to be quite young and who hasn't grown up yet. But when she does, it'll be quite exciting. Looking at the images, we're now at I. We have a cloud. And a cloud is always an image that is full of promise. We don't know what form the cloud will take. It can take one form on one day, and perhaps on another day it takes another form. It all depends on really the weather or the wind and all that kind of thing. So cloud formation is really, really quite unpredictable. Who knows? It could look like a baby the next day. I like the fact that the colors are present. There are colors present. You see this hue of blue in the sky. I can call it sky blue, but I'm colorblind, so I'm not sure. But there is blue right in the sky, and that kind of gives you the idea that it's quite a promising, clear day. And who knows, anything might happen in this day. So connecting it all to my general knowledge, I believe that this title presents you with a story that is full of promise, full of exciting things to come in future. I also actually want to point out the fact that there's another image here, and that is this line that kind of looks like a timeline. It has a dot here, and you've got to start by asking yourself why. There's a square here. Some of us can think maybe that's just a design, but I see a timeline, and the timeline kind of tells us maybe this represents growing up as well. And the square perhaps kind of represents maybe something that we haven't quite reached yet, but this is when I grow up. And you notice even the badge here, kind of like a badge, where the author is represents maybe this period of time in this person's life that is in the present. So quite interesting, the images and the positions used. Just thought I should bring it up for you. So that's Wick for you. Let's look at the first image. There are no bad answers or wrong guesses. Just make predictions based on really the wick that you see. So I'll point out first what I do see in terms of wick. We'll start with W, and I'll just put my W here since it's nearest to a word that I see, the word news. I see another word, bread, and I see the jersey with the numbers 11. We'll consider those words as well. Okay. Maybe we can talk about that first. Since we're on words, it seems to indicate the fact that there is a newsstand next to where they are in the vicinity in this location, and the fact that she just bought bread. It seems to indicate maybe this is near a supermarket of sorts. And that perhaps is part of the setting where this whole thing takes place, at least at first. She is also wearing a jersey, and so that kind of indicates perhaps she is quite sporty, or she is a big fan of sports, or she is a big supporter of sports, and she perhaps is quite athletic as well. So those are words, and I'm guessing this is going to be the protagonist or the main character, because well, she's running away. She's very colorful. I think yeah, she has to be the main character. But I'm getting ahead of myself in terms of color, so let's go to eye images. In terms of images, what really stands out are their faces. I see two faces here. Of course, we have her face. Another interesting thing is the bicycles rather, that I see. So let's talk about these images. First of all, her face is full of fear. So it's completely riddled with fear, and I believe that she definitely is running away in fear of those two behind. I'm not sure if the other guy's involved, the one further back, but she's definitely in fear. The two guys are obviously looking quite frustrated, even angry. One's waving his hand, and obviously that's a universal sign. Not just waving his hand, rather with a clenched fist, and you notice that it's kind of like a universal sign of anger. So I think maybe he's going to go on his bicycle and do something to her or give chase. Who knows? We'll move on now to colors. And colors, you can see that the two men or teenaged boys are in dull colors, and I think dull colors kind of represent, well, kind of like the villain or the bad guy in a show, right? I might be wrong, but in this case, they do seem to be in stark contrast. It's very clear that they are wearing different colors from this girl, who is in brightly colored jersey and shirt. Okay, so the colors kind of represent also perhaps that they are on opposing sides. So I've used quite a bit of my general knowledge already to make interpretations of the WIC, and I think I don't need to say very much more for K. But this is a classic conflict in which it is man versus man, right? We talked about how there are really quite only a few plots in this world in terms of stories, and this one is about man versus man. You can see it's obviously the girl versus the boys, so it's man versus man. I'm going to move on to the rest of the images, and when I tell you to pause the video, just go ahead and make your predictions using W, I, C, and K. Okay, you may pause the video now. Okay, so what did I see? Now, obviously, in this picture, we don't have very much words, so I'm just going to ignore it. We're going moving on to images, and now images, I see two guys. Yeah, obviously, I see the girl who's crouching down, and so I can quite safely say that in the original image or in original picture previously, these two guys are kind of like in cahoots, or they're friends, they're buddies, or they're thick as thieves, or in the same gang. Who knows? They might be good guys, but still, they are obviously looking for somebody, and it's obvious that they're looking for the girl. So they're kind of like scouting the entire neighborhood on their bicycles. So once again, the prediction of the bicycles has come true. Okay, so those are images, and we see the girl below. She's obviously crouched with her knees into her chest, trying to make herself as small and inconspicuous as possible, in fear, and she seems to be doing a good job because they haven't spotted her yet. In terms of colors, you can see that it's really quite brightly lit in terms of the bush or the hedge that she is hiding behind, and we can tell that really she is in quite colorful get-up as well. I just noticed that her shoes are quite bright, so that might indicate perhaps that she really is quite sporty, or she has really fast legs. So who knows? But somehow to be able to escape two bicycles, that is no mean feat. It is quite something. So she might be a fast runner. So even though she is full of fear, still, we can quite safely say perhaps she is athletic or quite gifted. Okay, so those are the colors. We'll move on now to the next image, and you can pause the video at this point. Okay, now at this point, still there are not many words, but now we have a clear shot of the jersey. Previously we didn't, now we do, and I'm just wondering if the number 11 is significant or not. Who knows? It might be a famous sports player that we don't quite know, but perhaps if this stellar text is from a larger story, then we might get a clue about who this athlete is and who wears number 11. I'm gonna guess that it's a basketball player because she's climbing a tree and it's quite high, and so perhaps he's quite tall. He can jump quite high. He's a great dunker. Who knows? I'm a basketball fan myself, but I can't think of any 11s at this point. But that's just me. In terms of images, we see lots of really tall trees, but what stands out is really the fact that they are acorns here. So it almost seems like she has athleticism, just like an animal or squirrel. That's really quite awesome. And of course, we see the two characters here. These two are new. One's a mother with her arms held akimbo on the side of her hips. So that's the universal sign of being angry, also disappointed, or she wants to summon this girl down. So it's kind of clear. I'm gonna guess that that's the mother, and the little girl, obviously, with her hand in tow, is her younger daughter. She does look younger, and if she needs to have her hand held, she's not going to be able to climb trees anytime soon. So those are the images. In terms of colors, you can see that the foreground is nicely colored. The background is just dull and completely yellow. So it kind of seems like the sun is really in their faces down there. Perhaps it's dusk and the sun is setting and it's getting late. It kind of indicates that maybe this girl has been up there for a long time and they've been waiting quite a while until sunset. So those are the colors for you. And that is my general knowledge all put together in the WIC. So every time I get to K, I wonder what do I have to do? But the fact is, actually, you've used your K in your WIC, so you don't have to worry about that. Move on now to the next image, and we can pause right there. Okay, again, we have no words, we have tons of images. This time, the image kind of focuses on the fact that there is a policeman who's in the foreground. In the background, of course, is our protagonist who's still hugging the tree like a panda. But we see in the image that the policeman is scratching the back of his head. That's the universal sign of being confused and just wondering what is going on or how to get her down. He's basically completely puzzled. Yep, you can tell he's a policeman because he kind of has like insignias and shoulder boards, and even this checkered kind of like British policeman kind of hat. Okay, and he has kind of like a pouch. He doesn't have a gun, but maybe he's just a patrol officer looking around. Anyway, he's definitely here to help, which is why he's looking up and scratching the back of his head. In terms of colors, the blue makes it very clear he's a policeman, so we don't have to argue too much about that anymore. I'm just beginning to notice because now the entire image is full of green and blue. You notice it's just green and blue, and those are the colors really of nature. And I just want to bring this up right now. The fact is, she seems to be one with nature. She has blended into the tree or into the sky even, and this kind of indicates that perhaps she wants to be what she wants to be when she grows up is really close to nature. Maybe when we read the text, we will find that is to be true. Okay, let's move on. Do pause the video at this point. Again, we don't see any words, but we see images, and of course the usual acorn is still there. But now the image of something being hoisted up, kind of like a crane maybe, but definitely these men have machines to help them scale the tree, because unlike her, they are not as athletic perhaps, or maybe this is a safer way to actually handle things. So they probably are from the Civil Defence Force, the CDF. Okay, They look well. I can't really tell how they look on their faces. They don't look reassuring, but they do seem to know what they're doing. So they have special gloves to grasp onto her in case she falls. And of course, she is just holding on gingerly for dear life. So that's quite clear. In terms of colors, their uniforms make it very clear that they are here to help. It's the uniform color of CDF, yellow and red, and of course, it's kind of warm. It's kind of clear that they're here to help. Okay, so let's move on to the last image, and then you can pause it here. Okay, so let's confirm your last predictions. Okay, once again, my predictions may be wrong, but I think I am pretty close. I will be pretty close. First of all, words. There are no words, so there's nothing to talk about. But in terms of images, tons here to see. We have a man who is smiling gently, and therefore I think it's a relative, definitely relative, or maybe a very close kin. So maybe he could be a father, obviously, because he's putting his hands on her shoulders. The physical intimacy or closeness kind of indicates that he could be a father, or maybe a teacher. But I think who knows. Well, with the bag, it kind of looks like it's a teacher, but I'm gonna go with father who's just come home. His tie is tied down, so he looks informal. He looks quite casual, and I don't think he is a teacher because then his tie would be up. So this is probably the father. What else about the images? You see her hair is slightly tousled, uh, which means it's not combed neatly. It probably is because she just had a shower and she's just come out, and she's still just talking to her dad first. I don't know why she has a bag on still, but maybe that kind of indicates that she feels safe with it. Or maybe she's just come home and her hair is in a big mess because, well, she's just had an adventure. So those are the images. In terms of the colors, you see this man is wearing green, and well, I don't know if this is green or blue, but she is now the color of nature as well, and it kind of indicates that he is in support of what she is doing. Even though she might have been rash, she deeply is concerned about her and her well-being at the heart of it all. So I think the color here does represent some kind of warmth and closeness between the two of them. And I think that is as good as my prediction gets. Yeah, it probably is going to be fleshed out in greater detail once we read the text. So I hope you're excited about it. Let's move on to the text.